The screenplay is written by Alexander Malik.
I remember in the 90s, in the days of my youth, the weather was not the same as it is now. Winters were stable. From the beginning of December to the end of winter there was always a lot of snow, summers were warm, and the rest of the seasons were gradually transitioning.
Winter. Snow. Everything is covered with snow. But it's good.
The 2000th passed. I somehow don't remember this period very well, but since 2010 I immediately noticed the difference. The climate has changed a lot. There is almost no snow in winter, constant slush, and at the same time it is somehow not warm. Then a piercing cold wind blows for 2 or 3 weeks. Then it is a little warmer again, but still it is dirty and somehow uncomfortable outside. And so it goes around the circle. Then it's cold again with almost no snow, then it's a little warmer. Moreover, even in summer there are cold air masses. The weather should be like this in May, and only in July and August it is hot. We live in the southern part of Russia. It seemed that someone was deliberately driving air masses from the north and waiting for them to heat up, and then driving them north again so that the glaciers would melt faster.
Snow fell in May. It seems the seasons have changed places.
This is most likely due to the movement of the magnetic pole. Along with the movement of the pole, the weakening of the Earth's magnetic field is observed. The magnetosphere is becoming thinner, and space jets and cold air masses from the upper atmosphere are more likely to sink to the bottom, as in the movie Storm in the Arctic.
There is a gap in the ozone layer. Cold air descends to the ground and creates a cold cyclone.
In contrast, solar radiation heats up the waters of the world's oceans and permafrost, releasing greenhouse gases, which causes the overall temperature on the planet to rise. Because of this, uncharacteristic of the seasons, alternating warming and cooling are felt more acutely. But still, it doesn't happen year after year, and indeed abnormally hot years do happen, and how the climate will change further is unknown. This year is very hot.
Sultry days and tropical nights. Abnormally high temperatures will last in Moscow until the weekend.
For a long time, the North Magnetic Pole was located in the area of northern Canada, but since 1904, he began to actively move towards our central Siberia. Currently, the speed of its movement is approximately 55 kilometers per year, while it continues to grow steadily. Not so long ago, the pole crossed the prime meridian, traveling more than 2,300 kilometers. According to scientists, at the current rate of movement, by 2050 the magnetic pole will reach the Taimyr Peninsula. Over a similar period of time, the South Pole has changed its position by about 900 kilometers. Many are now talking about the inversion of the poles, which has already happened in the history of the Earth in the distant past. That is, the North Pole may become the South Pole, and the South the North Pole. But most likely this is not the case. Over the past few tens of thousands of years, our poles have already changed their position, but this usually happened within the current boundaries of the Arctic Circle. Let's recall the ice ages, when the southern edge of the Eurasian ice sheet was located somewhere on the border of the Belgorod region in Ukraine, as well as the Laurentian ice sheet in North America. They didn't just happen, but periodic global cold snaps of this magnitude seem unlikely to me. Let's think about it a bit. If the poles are really moving, and not just changing their position relative to the axis, then where are they moving to? Where will the new pole be? Many prophets spoke about the 3 days of darkness, including Wang, Grigory Rasputin, Veronica Luken, Dixon. We will not list them all. There are quite a few of them and it will take a long time. Most predictions come to us at the initiative of the world government, the energy hierarchy of our solar system, and so on, including misinforming ones, so that people would know about impending events but could not change them.
In the name of the law of the galaxy, you are under arrest. What?
Actually, they all come down to one thing. On one day or somewhere on our planet on a frosty night, the sun will darken, suddenly darkness will come and it will last for 3 days. Pope Pius X, it will start on a very frosty night, disaster will come to Earth like a flash of lightning. Why it will be dark for 3 days? Obviously, during the pole shift, the Earth will stop rotating around its axis until the new poles take their new place, and the new Earth's axis begins to rotate in a different place. The Earth is slightly flattened at the poles, the polar radius is 21 kilometers smaller than the equatorial one, and when the axis moves, these territories will rise, and in a new place, on the contrary, the surface will sink. Some territories will go underwater, and some will rise. Jean Dixon, where there is water now, there will be land, and where there is land today, violent torrents will rush in, sweeping away everything in their path. All this will cause shaking of the Earth's crust, tsunamis, magma will splash out through volcanoes. On these days it will be impossible to go outside, the air will be saturated with poisonous gases. Actually, where will the new pole be? One predictor did identify the location of his new location. Solari Benjamin Paravicini, 1898–1974, was an Argentine artist who wrote numerous prophecies about the future of mankind, many of which were fulfilled. He expressed his predictions in drawings and paintings. The cataclysm will be predicted, but no one will believe that it will come. People pray in advance. There will be a sea of blood, the world will be flooded, the ice caps of the poles will melt, the pole of the Earth's axis will return to Ecuador. Ecuador is a small country in the north of South America. If one of the poles returns to Ecuador, then the second one should be located on the other side of the Earth. The opposite point on the map is the western part of Indonesia, roughly the middle of the island of Sumatra. Actually, if Paravicini was telling the truth, then this is where the new North Pole will be. It is approximately in this direction that the magnetic pole is now moving. Ecuador is located on the equator, so the poles will change their locations perpendicular to where the equator was. There will be poles, and a new equator will pass through the pole. When will the disaster happen? At this speed, it will reach there around the first quarter of the 22nd century. If it increases, then this can be expected in the 21st century, but not now. This does not contradict other predictions that should happen before that. The small Third World War and so on, I call it small. Back in Ecuador, South America will probably suffer the most. The destruction from the cataclysm will be in the south of the northern hemisphere, where most of it will begin. Then the Earth's world will shake like a volcano when it tears out a piece of South America. The Earth's crust will sink here, and rise slightly along the equator. As we can see, Ecuador, the northwestern part of Brazil, along with the entire Amazon, Colombia, Venezuela, Panama, and even the northern edge of Cuba will be in the zone of the southern Arctic Circle. It will be possible to live in the eastern part of Brazil and Argentina. In the northern hemisphere, it will get very cold in Mexico. I think Florida will be flooded, maybe not completely, it is located in the lowlands. The climate in Miami will be similar to that in Archangels. It will be dark for 72 hours. More people will die that night than in 2 world wars. Do not open windows for 72 hours. A beautiful city located near the sea will almost completely sink into the sea, mud and sand. Alois Illmayer.
Почти полностью утонет в море, в грязи и песке. Алоис Ильмайер.
It will also get colder in the southern states on the east coast where it used to be warm, Texas, Louisiana, South Carolina, less in Los Angeles. It will be cooler in the north in New York and Washington, but not significantly, and it will be warm in Chicago and southern Canada.
Can we sit down? Where are you going? To the north? Great, sit down.
The southern tropic will pass north of Vancouver. It will cover the northwest of Canada and Alaska with warmth. There will be real jungles here. Note that if the equator used to pass through Africa in its southern part, now it crosses its eastern part in a crisscross fashion, so that the climate here will remain almost the same as it was. Someone made sure that the changes on the planet would not be too catastrophic. Let's go back to the other side of the Earth. Here, countries such as Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, the resort of Thailand, Phuket and the island of Samoa, Vietnam, Cambodia, Myanmar and others will find themselves in the Arctic Circle. Obviously, a lot of people will die here. There will be a tsunami in the coastal states, but those who survive will emigrate to look for a new homeland. I remember someone predicted that Russia would accept refugees. It will get colder in northwestern Australia, the climate will be temperate in the central part, and the climate will remain unchanged on the east coast and in the densely populated part of the continent where Melbourne and Sydney are located. The northern tropic will pass between Australia and New Zealand. It will get significantly colder in India and southern China. As much as it was warmer here before, it will get colder, about the same as in St. Petersburg and the northern regions of Russia. Pay attention to one more feature: the mountain ranges that stretch for thousands of kilometers from east to west, the Himalayas, the Tian Shan, the Afghan and Iranian highlands, which used to protect the southern states from the winds of Siberia, now on the contrary will hinder the movement of cold air masses from south to north. Fast forward to Europe, as we see the new equator passes through Italy, Austria, Germany, next to Denmark and further through Scandinavia to the north. Other countries located by the sea will be in great danger. The sea will be choppy, and waves as high as a house will foam, as if something is cooking underground. The islands will disappear and the climate will change. January will be so warm that the mosquitoes will dance. Then there will be no more normal winters, such as we know now. Alois Illmeyer of Bavaria.
Only palm trees and more than one chestnut tree, not what it used to be.
The countries of Western Europe, like Africa, will become equatorial. Eastern Europe, although smaller, is also dominated by a tropical climate. The northern tropic from the Caucasus Mountains in the south will pass just east of Kazan, cover the entire northern Siberia in a semicircle and, drawing the border between Chukotka and Alaska, rushes south again. Grigory Rasputin. For 3 days the sun will disappear from the sky, and for 30 days, a fog of smoke and pain will cover the earth with a gray veil. Man will run like a mad dog through this sea of suffering, his life will become agony, and his only hope will be death. During these times, even the seasons will change, and the rose will bloom in December, and there will be snow in June. The Arctic Ocean, like Greenland, which previously had a different climate, will become tropical again in quotation marks, somewhat resembling the Caribbean Sea. It is likely that part of its bottom will rise and new lands will appear. On the other side of the Earth, Antarctica's climate will also become tropical. And in conclusion, I would like to quote the words of Jean Dixon. We will all witness the shadow of the cross, the trembling of the earth, and 3 days of darkness. The natural disasters of the early 21st century and all the global disasters they caused will least affect Russia, and they will affect Russian Siberia even less. Russia will have an opportunity for rapid and powerful development. The hopes of the world and its revival will begin in that period on the territory of Russia. It is in Russia that the most authentic and great source of freedom will arise. It will be a completely different way of existence, based on a principle that will become the basis of a new philosophy of life. Thanks for watching.